It's a big year for Texas football in 2023. I posed the question on my Twitter page at JD Pickell, Texas fans. What do you need to see in 2023 outside of a Big 12 championship that would give you confidence in the direction of the Steve Sarkisian era? Got a lot of good responses back, and I'm going to kind of couple those responses with my own thoughts. And one of the main things that we heard and that I was kind of thinking about already going into this video was we got to see something positive, something consistent on the offensive side of the football, and more specifically in the development of A1 Quinn Ewers. The way that I would phrase this, the offense and Quinn Ewers need to be as advertised in 2023. Because think about how Steve Sarkisian was advertised when he got to Texas. Offensive specialist, quarterback whisperer. Not that we haven't seen positive flashes from Texas in those departments, but in 2023, we need to see that come together because it's year 3 right now. It's year 2 for Quinn Ewers. We need to see those things be as advertised. And the offense has scored points. I mean, on average, they averaged over 30 points a game in 2022 and in 2021. But it can't be a thing where we score 34 against Kansas State if we're Texas. The next week, we come out and score 10 against TCU because that happened in 2022. I want to see the offense, if I'm a Texas fan, be consistent and be the tip of the spear for us as a program in 2023. Have it be consistent. The offense, again, the quarterback specialist piece. That was what we heard a lot about Steve Sarkisian, his resume, all the great quarterbacks he's worked with over the time of his entire career, paired with Quinn Ewers being one of the top quarterbacks in his class, even after he reclassified. He's one of the top quarterbacks in his class. 2022 showed a lot of really good things. It also showed a lot of frustrating things if you're Quinn Ewers. And that's okay. His first year being a starting quarterback at the college level. Like, that's all right. He should have been a true freshman. But in 2023, it's got to be consistent. It's got to be, okay, we've seen Steve Sarkisian's hand in his development, and now we see a new Quinn Ewers, or at least a progressed Quinn Ewers from his first year starting. That's what we want to see in terms of as advertised. Because if you can't get it right offensively, consistently, with 10 starters coming back of the 11 on the offensive side in his third year as the head guy at Texas, and Quinn Ewers' second year with all the weapons, Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Nayor will be healthy, fingers crossed. A.D. Mitchell transferring from Georgia. He was a dog, no pun intended, because he came from Georgia. Get it? Jatavian Sanders, how good he looked a year ago. There's a lot of pieces there. I know you lose Bijan Robinson, but you have a lot of pieces and a lot more experience across this offense now. If we can't get it right in year 3 with all these tools, I have some cause for concern. Okay, so the direction of Steve Sarkisian and this program, 2023, I want to see Quinn Ewers improve in his development, something that y'all agreed upon as well. I want to see the offense be consistent. More on that in a second. But if you haven't yet subscribed to the On3 YouTube channel, would love to have you a part of this operation. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram as well as on Twitter at JD Pickell. That was something that we just pretty much had a back and forth over on my Twitter page to have this video become a reality. All right, so appreciate y'all in advance for that. The second thing that we are aligned on here with Texas as we move forward under Steve Sarkisian, short of a Big 12 title, I want to see a matured culture at Texas. And a lot of y'all echoed this same sentiment. We want to see Texas close out teams in the second half. How often do we see Texas get out to a hot start, be up at half, and either lose the game in the second half or make it a game that it didn't really need to be a game in the second half? Like Texas was hurting Texas in the third and fourth quarter. You have the leads that were blown against Texas Tech and Oklahoma State. And then you have the leads that were blown that were still games that you won against Iowa State and Kansas State. I say blown leads. They were a game in the second half, whereas Iowa State and Oklahoma State, or excuse me, Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, rather, those games ended up being losses. Think about this. Good to elite teams, they finish games. They play better in the second half. Georgia and Michigan, 2 teams that ended up finding themselves in the college football playoffs, statistically, we're in the top, I believe, 5 in both points allowed in the second half and points scored in the second half. Those are well-coached teams. Those are elite culture teams. Those are mature culture teams. And the Texas culture is kind of a buzzword cliche that people like to throw around in the media world and say that Texas is a bad culture or they're selfish and they just are living off of the brand. Like, that's what the outside noise likes to say. But whenever there's blown leads in the second half, that's an internal thing. That goes back to a culture thing. So I'm not saying those outside voices are right, but I'm saying to take that next step under Steve Sarkisian, there has been a revamping of the culture. There's been a progression in the culture. That next step is finishing teams in the second half and also beating teams that you're supposed to beat how you're supposed to beat them, right? Like, this is not to dunk on Texas Tech. I'm probably the world's biggest Joey Maguire stan, to keep it a buck with you. But you're supposed to beat Texas Tech whether Quinn Ewers is playing or not. Why are we talking about this? Because you have more talent than, let's say, 90% of the teams you're going to play. I don't think that's a stretch. So when you have the better ingredients and you're not able to get done what's expected of you, you're not able to get the most out of that talent, you look back on the coaching staff. You look back on Steve Sarkisian and say, are we not developing how we need to develop? Are we not getting our personnel in the best position to succeed? Do we not have the right mindset? And all that starts at the top, right? It all infiltrates down into the roster from the top with Coach Sark. So that's why there's frustration. That's why one of the things that Texas fans want to see is handling business how you're supposed to handle it, because you're capable. It'd be one thing if you're recruiting a bunch of 3-stars and just rolling the ball out there and saying, well, we'll see how we do. No, you're recruiting 4- and 5-star guys, playing a bunch of 3-stars more often than not. That's who Texas Tech was recruiting. That's the new vision for Texas. That's the new goal for Texas, rather, in 2023. All right? Elite teams finish games. Elite teams beat teams they're supposed to beat. So for Texas, that is the next step. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what all of y'all were saying was we want to see 10 wins. And 10 wins, I think, lines up right about with my perception of what Texas really should expect in 2023 in order to keep the good people happy in Austin. Coach Sark and this team has got to at least make the Big 12 title game. And I think if you win 10 games, you're probably finding yourself in the Big 12 title game. All right? So, for Steve Sarkisian, it's year 3. It's year 3. You've suffered the growing pains of year 1. You went 5-7. Progressed. You did what actually I expected they would do in year 2. You won 8 games. Really solid base. First year starting quarterback. A lot of youth on the offensive side of the football. Kind of figured it out a little bit more defensively, and they're inconsistent, but still figuring it out defensively. Year 3 is like, all right, we got the experience back on offense. Got a quarterback who was highly touted, now in his second year in the system, with a quarterback whispering head coach whose mark of success has been the offensive side of the football. We got to at least make the dance. We got to at least make the big game. Got to make the Big 12 title game. Okay? Let the chips fall where they may from there. Because the Big 12, to be honest with you, is so brutal. I mean, week in and week out, you're getting everybody's best shot. A lot of good teams in this conference. If you can win it, phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, you do wonders for yourself if you're Steve Sarkisian. If you at least make the game, though, to me, that would satisfy a lot of my expectations for what they could be in 2023. They got the pieces to do it. They have got a ton of personnel to do it. They've got the quarterback to do it. Now they've got more experience to do it. Can they put it together? That is my expectation. That is your expectation. And for the good people in Texas, they put enough into it to where you expect something out of it now. All right? So for Texas, outside of a Big 12 title, better culture, development of Quinn Ewers in the offense, making the Big 12 title. That's what you want if you're a Texas fan. This has been The Hard Count. We appreciate y'all rocking with us. Nick, Break, Lifting Heavy, this is your show. Make sure you're subscribed and make sure you're following me on Instagram and on Twitter so we can have this back and forth and talk about what you want to talk about. You can contribute to the conversation. But we're going to keep the party rolling, and we will see y'all next time. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.